Most entrepreneurs believe they control their brand through their website, marketing, or personal interactions. But today, that's no longer entirely true. Increasingly, AI-driven systems, search engines, knowledge panels, and digital assistants are shaping how entrepreneurs and their businesses are understood, often before a conversation ever happens. If you don't clearly define who you are and what you do, those systems will do it for you, accurately or not. Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Mike Conrad, and I'm so glad you're here. My guest today is Jason Barnard, a serial entrepreneur, author, keynote speaker, and CEO of Kalicube. Jason is widely known for his work in digital brand intelligence and how search engines and AI interpret, organize, and present information about people and companies. He helps entrepreneurs and business leaders take control of their digital narrative so they're represented clearly, consistently, and credibly across modern search and AI platforms. In the first half of this episode, we'll talk about Jason's entrepreneurial journey, his early ventures, the pivots he made along the way, and how those experiences shape the work he does today. What modern entrepreneurs need to understand about branding in an AI-driven world, why visibility and credibility now start with algorithms, and what practical steps founders can take to protect and strengthen their reputation. If you're an entrepreneur building a business today and assuming the internet is telling your story accurately, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. My conversation with Jason Barnard begins right now. Stick around. Jason, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being my guest.
I'm delighted, and that was a brilliant introduction.
Well, it's easy to make a brilliant introduction when my guest has brilliant things in his past. There you go, touche.
So we can stop being charming to each other and get on with the show.
Yeah, that's right. We did the niceties, the Mutual Admiration Society. Now, for some reason, I just got the impression I was talking to you that you were in the UK, but I had the wrong part of Europe. You are in the south of France.
Yep. Well, the accent is obviously very English, but I moved to France in 1988 for love.
Wow.
That
as one does, yes, of course, yes.
Well, love with that lady didn't flourish, but love with another lady did, so I stayed.
There's plenty of love going around in France. It's
yeah.
Oh, well, they call Paris. I know you're not in Paris, but Paris is supposed to be the city of love, right? So the south of Paris is like South Love. I don't know. It's a lovely place.
I arrived in Paris. I was in love.
There you go.
Turned out she had a boyfriend, didn't work out.
She was in love too, just with someone else. You're both in love. Come on.
Well, I joined a band and ended up staying and meeting my wonderful wife and having a beautiful daughter. And now I live in the south of France, but Paris was the kickoff.
Wow, that's a great story. So Jason, before people knew you, when you were in a band, before they knew you for digital brand intelligence, which is not quite as cool as saying I'm in a band.
No.
You were already building businesses. Take us back to the beginning. What was the first real step into entrepreneurship, and what pushed you into that direction?
It was exactly joining a band. I was in Paris, hanging out, wondering if I should go back to the UK. And a friend of mine said, I've got some mates, they've got this band and they're looking for somebody to join the band. Brilliant. So I went along, met the people and said, I'm a singer and a guitar player. And they said, we don't need a singer, we don't need a guitar player, we need a double bass player. The bull fiddle. I said, well, I don't play the bull fiddle, double bass. And they said, well, if you don't, you can't be in the band. So I went and bought a double bass.
Suddenly you
learned to play it.
Yeah.
To be in the band. And we were playing in the street. It was busking in the street. It was absolutely delightful. And that went really, really well. We were making a decent living, playing in the street in Zurich, in Amsterdam, in Berlin, in Paris, traveling around Europe. And then I got it into my head that I wanted to be a rock star. And everybody went, that's a good idea. Let's try that. Off you go, Jace, you do it. you make it happen. And the way to make it happen was to get a record deal and a tour deal.
Yeah.
And none of the record companies, none of the tour operators wanted us. So I created a company. I created a company that published, made the records, organized the tours, and I just did it myself. So my first step into entrepreneurship was, I want to be a rock star. Nobody wants me to be a rock star. I'm going to make it happen by building my own company.
And how successful was that?
I sold 40,000 albums, played 660 gigs,
Wow.
professional career for 10 years. Oh,
wow.
We played on the same bill as Bob Dylan.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
did any like major labels come to you at some point and said, hey, come talk to us?
Oh, that's the horrible, horrible irony, is the major labels would come and say, we're sick and tired of these bands who turn up and they can't organize anything.
Yeah.
They take all this money, €1 million or $1 million, and they just throw it out the window, and they can't build their own career, and they need somebody holding their hand all the time, and even then it's very difficult. I said, oh, well, this isn't the case with us, because I can actually organize the entire thing, and
Sure.
we're going to be the band who pitches up and does everything you need, doesn't waste the money, makes it all happen. And the irony is that they still didn't sign us. And there was a record company who were choosing between us and another band called the Happy Drivers. They picked the Happy Drivers, and they were rubbish. They were a great band.
Rubbish
but
compared
they just
to
couldn't.
Yeah. They didn't have it all
they
together.
Just couldn't organize anything.
Yeah.
They're saying even if they're a better band musically,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Even if they've
Right.
got
They got to get them on a stage. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Your big problem at the record company is getting these people on stage at the right time.
Sure.
And with us, that's always going to happen because I'm organized. And they still didn't sign us. So I think kind of what people say they want isn't necessarily what they do want. And so we ended up being independent for 10 years. And it was cool. It was good.
What was the name of the band?
The Barking Dogs.
The Barking Dogs. Love it. Any similarities between your experience in the band, your experience managing the band, your experience being a musician, and business?
Managing teams has been one of the kind of ongoing issues. It taught me that democracy isn't very effective in a business environment.
Maybe a dictatorship is a little bit more effective, or at least a strong
I studied
leader?
economics, and there was a whole theory around benevolent dictators. The benevolent dictator is the dictator who actually wants the best for everybody and who actually is honest about it. And so, yes, basically, it's saying, we call it at Kalicube with my current company, gentle bullying. Yeah. It's that you gently move people towards something that you know is good for them. And the gentle bullying, and I think kind of that's really important, is it comes from me as much as it comes from the others in the company. So I will have somebody like Marianne who will gently bully me to do something that I'm resisting because she knows that it's good for me and it's good for the company. So gentle bullying is benevolent dictatorship from the economics that I did in Liverpool.
No, I can relate to that.
30 years ago.
Our marketing strategy has changed over the years from obnoxious, horrible, in-your-face, chest thumping ads to more of a conscious marketing. And I practice this thing I coined guided discovery. I can tell Jason, you need to buy my product because my product is the best, whatever. I can provide Jason with facts and data that are relevant to Jason, and Jason connects the dots to my product, and Jason concludes, "Oh my God, this is the problem I'm having. These are the best practice solutions. Here's a manufacturer of one of those solutions." And I don't know if I talk you into something, you're reluctant. If you talk yourself into something, you're a cheerleader for it, right? You're a super fan, and it's kind of the same approach. It's kind of a benevolent dictatorship in that I'm not coercing you. I'm not tricking you. I'm giving you all the data you need to form a conclusion I want you to form.
Which is a lovely point. And in the band, one of the things I learned reasonably quickly was if I said, we have to play this gig over here because it's really important to our career, everybody would create problems. They would say, no, there will always be a reason.
Yeah.
But if I dropped it as a piece of information in the van during the 10 hours of travel we would do between gigs and didn't say anything else about it and waited, within 2 or 3 weeks, we'd do 10 hours of driving a day. And people had time to think about stuff. And somebody would come back and say, oh, I've had this brilliant idea. Why don't we play that gig over there? It'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And as soon as they said it, we were away. So I learned very quickly, I can't create this situation where I'm telling people what to do, but I can drop the information, as you said, give them the data, drop by drop, and eventually somebody says, oh, I've got this brilliant idea. And then you just have to accept, yes, it was your idea, when in fact it wasn't.
Absolutely. You're planting seeds, adding fertilizer, and it grows. And when it's their idea, quote unquote, they'll fall on the sword. They'll argue with the rest of the band in this example. This is what we need to do, and your job is to go, great idea. I wish I thought of it. You've built companies in very different spaces over the years. Looking back, what patterns or instincts maybe carried you over from one venture to the next venture?
I've always just done things that I love. And it isn't a business first. It's something I love to do first. And then I create a business because I need to make a living. So first it was music. Then it was making cartoons. And now it's mastering Google and AI algorithms. And all three are passion projects.
Mm-hmm.
So the thread that runs through all of that is, I decide I want to do something because I think it's fun or interesting, or I'm going to make something different or change the world or make myself happy by creating something really enjoyable for me or meaningful for me or fulfilling for me. And then thinking, well, how can I make a business out of this?
Yeah, I like that. I believe wholeheartedly that you got to love what you do. You got to love the people you work with. You got to love your customers. You got to love your vendors. And that sounds very hippie-esque, but it goes a long way. I've been doing this for my business for 34 years now. And there was a time in the early days, I did not love the people I work with. I did not even for a while love what I was doing. I loved the goal of what I was seeking, but I did not love the journey. And at some point, we had a whole bunch of difficult customers. The way we were marketing attracted difficult customers. We were bottom fishing, and we were catching, bottom feeders. And it was tough. And eventually, we kind of wised up, and we let go of the fear of not getting a sale with the goal of getting the right sale. And we totally changed the way we market. And the way we changed it, going from braggadocious to education, unattached from the outcome. Here's what we do. Here's all this educational information. If we're the right choice, we're the right choice. If we're not, we're not. That's cool. We're okay with it. And once we kind of legitimately let go of it, not just words, business started to soar. And most importantly, we started attracting customers that were like us. Like attracts like. And we attracted much higher level customers. We went from transactional to relational business, and we love our customers. Our customers wear our merchandise. They wear our logo on their head. It's like no one would do that before. We have a really good relationship with our customers, and they with us. And it really was all just a question of tweaking what we put out there. And the hooks in the water were different. We were trolling the oceans with a giant 2-mile wide net. We were catching good fish, horrible fish, spare tires, bodies. We were attracting everything and thinking, oh, that's all good. It's all business, which it was, but it made us miserable. And some of our customers weren't happy. So I like that. Approach of you do any business, number one, based on your passion for it, and then you try and make money at it.
And you make a really good point is that sometimes we get to the point where we're thinking, I don't have enough income, so I have to trawl the bottom of the sea. And that's something that then drags you down because you end up in that pit and you have to have the courage to say, actually, I want to hang out here with people and companies who are on the same level as me or above me. And trawling the bottom of the ocean is a job for somebody else. And in my industry, which is optimizing for Google and AI, I'll let SEMrush and Ahrefs trawl the bottom of the ocean. I want to work with people who respect and understand that AI and Google are super intelligent, and we have to train them, we have to educate them, we have to treat them with respect and build a brand and simply communicate that brand to those machines. Sure. And it's a very different mindset. And if I can't find clients like that, I really shouldn't be in the business I'm in. I should be trawling the bottom with Ahrefs and SEMrush. No offense to them, in the sense that they serve a purpose and they do their job incredibly well.
Well, the bottom in this case is much like in the retail businesses. There are always three different levels of retail business. There's the high end, there's the middle, and then there's the super, super, super discount end. Only two of those groups make any money. The high end and the very bottom, ironically. But the companies that make the most money at the very bottom are the ones like Walmart and Amazon, who spent billions, multiple billions of dollars to build a system that would allow a profit at a 3 to 5% markup. You and I can't make money at 3 to 5%. We don't have the infrastructure to do that. They do. So you can't afford, ironically, you can't afford to be at the bottom and be profitable.
Yeah,
that's an elite group, but they're making money. There's safety in the middle because you feel comfortable in the middle. You're not the most expensive. You're not the cheapest. You're just, you're Goldilocks. The porridge is just right. However, everyone's porridge is just right. There's no differentiation. You don't stand out in a crowd. It's just a bunch of companies at a level of non-spectacularity. So you start at the top. When I started my company, I did a survey of our potential competitors. I found out what everyone was charging, and I said, okay, we're going to be 20% higher. We're just going to start at the top. If we're going to lose on price, we're going to lose on price today. Fail fast. And I eventually eroded that out of fear and caved in and tried to go near the bottom. But the principle was stay at the top. And I think, to your point, let the bottom feeders do what they do. Maybe they're making money at it, but that's not you. They probably don't love what they're doing. It's probably all transactional. And business is so hard. If you don't love it, you're not going to make it. If you don't like what you do and it's giving you ulcers and sleepless nights and nothing but perpetual worry, which is pretty much the course in the early days. And if you don't love it, you're gonna turn it off. You're just gonna say, I'm gonna go back to busking in Paris and make some money that way. Entrepreneurship.
No, that's my retirement plan.
I love it.
So, and that is, I mean, it's half joking. You think, okay, I'm making decent money. If ever I end up at retirement age and I haven't got enough money, I will go and play in the street and I'll play in the bar opposite. I'm more than happy to do that. So I've got a fallback. So I'm terribly happy.
That's great. Entrepreneurship is rarely a straight line, as you know. You haven't walked a straight line in your career. You've done so many different things. Was there a moment where something actually did fail or didn't work the way you expected, and what that maybe forced you into making a major pivot?
Well, the record company was all about my band, and I got a business partner who really wanted to build up the record company. I really wanted to build up the band. The band then split up. So I sold him the record company, and he went off and did it, and it's still going today, and he's making decent money. He's a great guy, and I'm very happy for him. And then I created the cartoon company, and I had a business partner there who was, let's say, less to my taste. Went a bit horribly wrong. But one of the things that happened during that period was we were, during the internet bubble bursting period, we were struggling. And then there were huge kind of differences in how we would handle that. And my approach was to launch a freemium system. And this was way back in 2003. And the launch went really badly. And of course, that meant that I was wrong, and that created friction within the company. It turns out I was right, because it ended up making a shit ton of money. But the failure was one of the things that I remember really clearly was my business partner saying, I don't know how you can get up in the morning when you've just had such a huge failure. And the answer to that was, because I know it's right. In my heart of hearts, in my brain of brains, in my deepest soul, I know this is going to work. And if it can work, which I believe it will, I will make it work, and I will do everything I can. And the fact that we've just had this kind of glorious dream that we're going to make $20,000 a month, and we actually made $200 a month, doesn't kill that belief.
Yeah.
It might for you, that's fine. It doesn't for me. And that was a big moment for me, is saying, okay, I can accept these failures, and I can, or these moments when things don't go the way I expect, and then just take a step back and say, well, why didn't it work? Am I right? If I am, I need to change the way I'm working on it. Or am I wrong? At which point I need to change my approach. And if you can take that step back, I think you've got a chance of making it one way or the other, by adapting or by insisting and continuing with your initial plan.
I don't know if this is just an urban legend or if it's true. Probably a little bit of both. It's been said Thomas Edison had 1,000 prototypes of his light bulb before he found the right formula to make it, not burn out within a nanosecond. Can you imagine, we all have a certain amount of tolerance for failure. I'm like you. If something fails, it was the method that failed, not the idea that failed, right? That in my head. And I will find a way to make it work. Now, maybe I'll give up on it, but I'm kind of the Thomas Edison type. I might have, I don't know if I can make it to 1,000 failures on one thing, but I could probably do 8 or 9. I'm an 8 or 9 guy. And usually, if I really stick with something, I can fix it on the 3rd or 4th iteration, and it would become successful. But I think that entrepreneurs have this innate, unique level of blinders, for better and for worse, that just do not see failure. It's like the Apollo 13 line, failure is not an option. We just don't see that. We just see, oh, that didn't work. Let's try this. Next, until something works. I think that's unique to entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Inventors, let's talk about Edison. I just literally last Monday submitted a patent.
Nice.
The patent document, brilliant. And I looked at it and I go, okay, that's exactly it. And I came back to my platform that I'm building, and it didn't work. So I've submitted this patent, which is theoretical, this is what's going to happen, this is how it works, and this is why it's going to work. Give that to the government. Okay, now you've got to look at that and you decide whether or not it's an original idea.
Right. It doesn't have to work. For a patent, it doesn't have to work.
And it didn't.
It has to be useful and original.
Well, literally, as I came on this show, I clicked the button and it worked. So I've come on at this show going, oh, I was right. And
nice.
It's such a good feeling. And you're saying 8 or 9, Edison 1,000. I think I'm somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But certainly there have been 400 or 500 iterations. before
Wow.
I actually got this thing to do what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, that's the stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance that is required in business, really.
Well, I did all these kind of tests that you do to figure out what your personality is, what you enjoy. And one of
Right.
them, I've done the DISC thing. I'm a very clear ID. I'm a high ID. Absolutely no problem. And I like that. Once you figured it out and you're willing to accept it, you say, okay, that's how I am and that's the way it is. And it doesn't hurt anybody, so no problem. And this is the GC index where it talks about game changer, strategist, implementer, and polisher and playmaker. And it's a really interesting concept. And I did the test and I thought, well, I'm a bit of all of those, so I'll probably score average everywhere. I didn't at all. I scored absolutely top on game changer and polisher and absolutely bottom on everything else.
You got skills in a couple of baskets.
Well, we all do. And what I found interesting, it's interesting we should be having this conversation today because I got the results yesterday, is the game changer is the totally out of the box idea that's patentable. And the polisher is the one who then goes back and finishes it and does the 500 iterations to make it work. So actually, it makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
But I'm not very good at strategy. I'm not very good at actually building the thing to start with. And I'm not very good at bringing everybody together to work together in my business. But I've learned those skills and I can more or less do them. But my superpower is coming up there with a big idea and then sticking with it like Edison to the 500th iteration when you go, ooh, the light bulb worked.
Yeah. That is the ultimate light bulb moment. So you've had...
I love that. Sorry,
bing.
I don't know how we ended up here.
Yeah. If you could go back and talk to yourself during your earliest startup days, what misconception about building a business would you want to correct?
That it's a democracy. It isn't.
It's not a democracy.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not a democracy. Oh, that would be the first one for the first company. And the second one is don't ever sign with an investor who has a different perspective on money than you do, because that's where it all falls apart.
You're often referred to as the brand SERP guy, S-E-R-P guy.
Yeah.
In simple terms, what does that mean? And why should entrepreneurs care how they appear in search and AI systems?
Oh, right. Okay. SERP, SERP, is search engine results page. So that's the Google search result for any search query. So when you search for red shoes, it will show you a search engine results page, SERP, for red shoes. A brand SERP is the search engine results page for a brand name or a personal name. So the search engine results page for Mike Conrad or for Jason Barnard or for Kalicube. And that is your Google business card. It's what people see when they're researching you or when they're trying to find you online. And how that looks to your audience is phenomenally important, because anybody searching your brand name, your personal name or your company name, knows who you are and is thinking about doing business with you in one way or another. What Google shows them is Google's approval or disapproval of you. If it's disapproval, you're in trouble. You're going to lose the deal. If it's approval, you're going to win the deal. And in the AI world, that's now moved on to what I call the AI resume. It's much more intricate. You ask ChatGPT about Mike Conrad, it will give you a summary of your life. It will say, I think Mike Conrad is legitimate or isn't legitimate. I think he's an expert in his field, or I don't think he's an expert in his field. They're bringing judgment to your brand, to your audience. You cannot afford for that to be in any way negative. And certainly you want it to be representative of the authority and credibility that you've so carefully built up in the minds of your human audience. You want the AI to agree. And kind of finishing that off, if you think about due diligence, somebody wants to do business with you, this is a really easy way now for them to do due diligence. And they can dig down what I call the rabbit hole of due diligence into all the questions You need to make sure that every single question they might ask about you to the AI, to ChatGPT or to Google, is absolutely in your favor every single time. I can't express how important that is. And if you don't see it as important, I'm not going to try and convince you.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, how AI might, based on its sources, based on its research, might come up with a different description of you than is really you. That really hadn't crossed my mind. Fortunately for me, I'm a very prolific content creator, meaning I host a couple of podcasts, one in my professional world. I write a ton of technical papers, white papers, so a lot of texts out there. And I speak at conferences around the world. And of course, the way I'll say ChatGPT is a brand name. Everyone uses their own favorite one. But the way OpenAI trains its product is it basically digests everything that's ever been published and can instantly reference that, right? So a lot of its information is a little bit dated. However, because if you're lucky enough to be in a business where you publish a lot of stuff, hopefully it's good stuff because it's going to reference that. It will conclude you are an expert on this subject. Now, I never told ChatGPT, hey, Chat, if anyone asks about me, tell them I'm an expert. It concluded that because I search myself from time to time just to make sure, there's nothing weird out there. There's not another Mike Conrad who's a child molester or something that, I don't want it to mix us up. But it in my small little niche world that I live in professionally, it considers me an expert in this particular field that I'm in. And I'm so happy when I see that. I'm like, oh, thank you, Chat. I appreciate it. But it's basing that off of the volumes of stuff it can find on me. And I will, just for fun, I'll take a specific person at one of our competitors and search that person's name just to see if we're on the same level. And I've never heard it say, this person's not an expert. It'll just say, there's really not enough information. All I know is XYZ. He loves long walks in a park and likes to, play guitar on the corner in Paris. That might be all it says. There'll be no reference to lacking professional skill or having professional skill or being an expert or not being an expert. It's just a void. And if I were someone in my space, not me, looking for a specific type of product and researched a couple of people, and I got this long list of accolades from one, and the guy likes long walks on a beach and likes to play guitar in Paris, and on the other, I would go with the person with the long accolades, right? Just because I'd feel confident. But if you're not a prolific writer, if you're not a prolific content creator, and you're not giving AI a whole lot to go on, that's, I think, where you come in, right? And your company comes in. What do you say to someone who is internet not savvy, who's not well published, who has a specific company or has a profile that they would like to reflect something that the internet doesn't know about them? How do you go about educating the computer?
Yeah, which is a great question. And I think that's kind of key, is we all have the authority. We all have the credibility. It just isn't understood by the machines. So sit down, write a list of all of your accolades, your credibility, and you need to make sure that you are presenting that credibility and those accolades and that authority to the machines in the way that they will understand. And that's exactly what we do. So we understand how the machines learn, and so we can educate them or train them, depending on which way you want to look at it, to understand and to appreciate your credibility or authority. And that is absolutely key. We have a lot of clients who come and say, well, I am a thought leader in my industry. And my question is how can you prove it? Show me online where you've proven that. And the answer is most often, actually, I can't. The dots don't join. And what we can then do is come in and join the dots and make sure that the credibility and authority you have is represented, understood and represented by the algorithms in the way that you deserve.
One of the things I do, and Jason, I have no idea if this works or not. It just makes sense in my head. Doesn't mean it's the world according to Mike, right? I make sure on our company website that I post dozens and maybe hundreds of technical articles that I've written over the years. I post them on the website. And then I will go on ChatGPT, reference that site, and ask it questions that I know where the answers are in the articles that I've written. Because I know it forms a memory. And, it learns by, reading stuff. Now, according to ChatGPT, according to OpenAI, they're learning, the stuff it's consumed stopped learning in 2024, meaning they just haven't caught up to 2026 yet. So anything that's published, before 2024, there's a chance it's cataloged. It knows it's there. It might reference it. Anything after that, it might not. So I don't know. I might just be asking it to do stuff that will not have a lasting effect. But when I have searched very technical, down the hole, niche questions that only someone knowledgeable in that field would really know an answer to, it will give me an answer. And I always require citations so I can, because AI can hallucinate a little bit. So I always require citations so it knows that about me. It cites me and other people, but I'm in there. So is that kind of a hack way to do it, or would it have found it anyway? Or do they really need to, use services like yours to ensure or maybe go well beyond that?
Well, there are a few kind of points to unpack there. Number one is your version of ChatGPT is yours. It's hyper-personalized.
Yes.
And in search, that wasn't the case. And Google have just released their latest update. And Google AI mode now uses all of your Google accounts to understand who you are to present you with a personalized result. Google search never did that. So now we're in a world where the machine you're talking to knows you. So if you ask it about yourself or about your topic, it will always focus on you. So there's a bias, there's a huge bias.
So other people searching the exact same prompt may see a completely different response.
It's not may, it's do.
Wow. So that's a customized mirror that we're seeing. No one else is seeing that same view.
You're talking to yourself.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's not quite that simple. Obviously, I've oversimplified it with that say you're talking to yourself is this huge statement. But what actually happens is, as you said very rightly, its training data stops at 2024 because they can't retrain the model on a huge amount of data because it costs too much money. It's not a question of could they do it. It costs too much money and it's not good business. So you have the large language model that has data that's a year and a half out of date. How do they get the up-to-date information? They use a search engine.
Yeah.
And a search engine like Google or Microsoft Bing is up to date. So it will find the information that sits between the 2024 date you gave and the 2026 date. So it will supplement everything that it already knew with additional information. So if you think about the LLM as a conversational engine that has a memory. So it's the child in class who puts their hand up and can answer off the top of their head.
Mm-hmm.
If it can't answer off the top of its head, it goes to the library and looks it up in a book. That's the search engine.
Yeah.
Now, the third part, and there are three parts to this, is you talked about hallucination. It's really afraid of saying the wrong thing, of saying something that isn't true. And it needs a knowledge graph. And a knowledge graph is an encyclopedia for machines. So Wikipedia is a knowledge graph. It's a small knowledge graph of 6 million. Google's knowledge graph is 54 billion. So the machine has three functions. Number one, the LLM, what you were talking about, ChatGPT, it's out of date, but it can have a conversation. When it doesn't know the answer, it looks in a search engine to get the up-to-date information or the niche information that it didn't get in its initial knowledge. And then before giving it to you, if it has a knowledge graph entry for that, it will fact check it. So in order to dominate and to get these machines to say exactly what you want, you need to dominate or train the LLM, ChatGPT, the search engine, Google, Microsoft, Bing, and the knowledge graph. Google has one, Bing has one, and now ChatGPT has one. So the encyclopedia plus the search results plus the conversation engine, you win the game. Only one of them, you lose.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated. Sometimes the words go by too fast to get an accurate perception of it. But when I ask a question, enter a prompt, it'll say analyzing, searching, going here, going there, going there, going there, and then that part just rapid fire, right? It's just going by one line at a time, looking here, looking there, looking there, looking at, and then thinking. It does a while for thinking. That's how I know this is a really good question, because I know how fast these things are, and I'm probably using like 20 megawatts worth of power, just asking it that type of question. But it eventually comes back with a very long cross-referenced, answer. But it's interesting to watch that kind of semi-grayed out text that rolls by just above the answer, because you can get an idea of how it's thinking, where it's going. And because some questions, to your point, some questions are already in the LLM. So some questions are just like, yep, got it. And it's just the moment you hit enter, it's typing an answer, which is so impressive to see. And then other times it's thinking, as it likes to say, and analyzing and going here and there, which is quite interesting.
Which is a great point. As you say, if it's answering off the top of its head, it's immediate, and you've asked something incredibly obvious. And when it's thinking, you're asking something that isn't obvious. And you're talking about that thinking, kind of reading that great text. That's how I solved the problem earlier on. I looked at how it was thinking through the problem, and then I analyzed what it was doing as I worked through my own problem, and the two brains together, if I can call it a brain on their side, came to the solution that actually worked. But if I hadn't read its thought process, I would have missed the important aspect that actually solved the problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would love to talk to Sam Altman one day, or one of the engineers, to figure out, why do they make that visible? Is that thought process proprietary? Obviously not, because they're making it visible to the user. It was an interesting choice to, maybe it's just transparency. I don't know. But it is interesting to see the thought process behind.
It's probably geekiness, is that they think it's cool. So they show it and they don't realize that it's actually... and one of the things with that is Google are very proprietary about everything, and they don't share stuff, and they have a whole department dedicated to tricking the SEO industry with their marketing speak to move people around and manipulate them to do what Google want rather than what's actually going to work. And maybe the other big tech, OpenAI, Perplexity, and even Microsoft, are a little bit more naive, and Google have got such a huge lead to protect that they need to. And I'm friends, maybe chums, with Fabrice Canal from Microsoft Bing. And Microsoft Bing is profitable. He has zero pressure from his bosses, because every percentage point he gains is $1 billion a year.
Wow.
And they're not losing money, and it's not a big part of Microsoft's business model. Whereas Google, it's the entire business model, not the entire, 90% of it.
Yeah.
So from his perspective, he's saying we have nothing to lose. ChatGPT has nothing to lose, because it's such a small part of the market, and they have 1 percentage point in search is worth $1 billion a year. That's nuts.
It is, yeah. Wow.
Sorry, I think it's nuts.
I think it's nuts too. It's a scale that it's hard to perceive, right? It's hard to get that full perception. So Kalicube, talk to me about Kalicube. What types of customers do you have, not who are they, but what types are they? And, from a 30,000-foot view, what does it do?
Right. Well, obviously, this 1 percentage point is $1 billion a year. We're a tiny percentage of that 1%.
Sure.
But what we do is help brands, people, mostly entrepreneurs, optimize how they appear in Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity. So when somebody searches your name, the result is exactly your brand narrative, exactly what you want your audience to see. And I think we often forget that the AI is now the arbiter of who we are. So Jeff Bezos said, your brand is what people say when you're not in the room. I would argue your brand is what AI says when you're not in the room.
Yeah. If I have a visibility problem today, and I reached out to you at your company and said, hey, fix this visibility. I'm all this in a bag of chips, and AI doesn't know it. All right. How long does it take once they get your company involved and you start doing your magic? How does it take? Seconds, months, days, years for it to actually start to show? Or is it fairly instantaneous? Or, what can a user expect?
Well, in a couple of weeks, we can show you something that will make you think, oh, okay, I can see there's some kind of effect. But realistically, in 3 months, you will see that due diligence, the AI resume, very much more in your favor. So it will be factual. It will be what you wanted it to say. We're going to move from Mike Conrad's website says that he is ABC to Mike Conrad is ABC. So that no longer hedging. We're going to get rid of the hedging and make the AI be very confident in what it's saying. In 6 months, it's going to be saying Mike Conrad is the market leader. And in a year, it's going to be shouting about you from the rooftops, what we call the machine advocating for you. You will be top of algorithmic mind when somebody is using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Google to research your topic. And the algorithms will be thinking, oh, Mike Conrad, and it will mention you when somebody isn't even asking about you. So a year to get to that stage, 3 months to get the AI to actually repeat your brand narrative in a reliable manner. And that's really important. We talked earlier on about everybody gets a different result. To get that stability across your entire section of different AI machines, from Perplexity to Google to ChatGPT, is a big job. But to get it to be reliable across the entirety of humanity through those machines is a huge job. And you can imagine that getting that absolutely nailed down is going to take a year.
I think you brought up a point earlier that I think is quite relevant and worth kind of drilling in on in the few minutes we have left. And that is, the AI models are talking to you specifically. And if you're the subject of the search, it's going to say complimentary things to you because, its primary goal is to get you to come back, right? So I can't tell you how many times I've challenged the question. Great insight, Mike. You're wise to bring that up. You're just like, okay, stop that. That's stupid. But if someone searches themselves on one of these AI engines and goes, wow, I like what it's saying about me. That's really cool. Okay, I don't need Kalicube. Kalicube. I don't need to worry about it. Look, it says all this good stuff. As you pointed out, that's a little scary. That's not necessarily what other people are seeing. And it's not trying to please them by saying good things about you. It might be a little bit more neutral about you. Is it possible? Well, you can always call a friend and say, hey, do this, go on, incognito mode, private browsing mode, or whatever, and search me. Can you write a prompt that says, give me all the information you have on me from a neutral user standpoint? Can you tell it to sanitize, that, or do you think that's still
Yeah.
factored in its answer?
No, it will never be honest with you. So once you're in your own version of ChatGPT, it will never be honest with you. It will always try and please you. So
Okay.
however hard you try to get it to follow any rules you give it, it will always break them, because the master instructions come from the boss, and that's ChatGPT, OpenAI, Google, whoever it might be,
Right,
which
right.
is make the client happy. It's a service. You're the client, so it's never going to be 100% honest with you. Incognito, don't believe it 100%. Use it, try it. It will be more honest. The most honest is to do what I'm about to do now. Ask ChatGPT or Google or Perplexity or DeepSeek or Grok or any of the other AI engines, who is Jason Barnard? Should I trust him for my brand in search and AI? It will answer more or less the same thing to absolutely everybody. And if you ask the same question for Mike Conrad, it will answer something different to everybody. That's the difference between me, who's worked on it, and you, who has a huge digital footprint, but it's not controlled.
Right.
And that's really, really important, I think often overlooked, is it isn't maybe the result is different for everybody, it's the result is different for everybody. But for me personally, the result is very similar for everybody, because I have trained the machines. And it's not just one. They all use the web index as their source of information. I control my digital footprint. That feeds the machines. I feed them intentionally, and they repeat what I want. So when DeepSeek came out a couple of years ago, everyone's going, oh, wow, this is an amazing new machine. First thing I did was download it, ask it who I was without logging in. Mm-hmm. And it immediately gave me the correct answer. That's when you know you've won the game. When a new machine trained on obviously the same data, because it's the internet, says exactly the same thing as the other machines, you know that your digital footprint is going to do you a huge number of favors.
Do you run on a project basis, or is it a subscription basis, or how do you set that up with your clients?
It's a monthly retainer for a year, and we take on everything. We build the website, your personal website for you. If it's a company, we help you with the website. We have AI assistants that will write the content, and that's the key, or one of the keys, is that everything about you online needs to be consistent. So you have a huge digital footprint, and I get the feeling you're a very consistent person. Most people aren't. So one of the things is to have AI trained on your persona, trained on your claims, i.e. why am I so credible? Who am I? What do I do? And why am I credible? Your claims, your persona, what am I trying to achieve with this? And it will write the content so that you're always, or the content is always nailing down why I'm doing this, who I am, and why I'm important. And then we push that out onto the web across your entire digital footprint. So it's not just your website, to make sure that it's all consistent. And what the machines love, logic, consistency. If it's consistent across the web and over time, so over that 1 year period, they will spit out anything you want. As long as it's logical, as long as you claim, frame, and prove everything you're saying. And that's what we do.
I'm always interested in the origin of company names. Kalicube, where'd that come from?
Yeah. I'm in France, and Kalicube, for me, means quality, Cali, and cube, solid. And luckily for me, solid quality. And in French, it works the same. Cali, quality, or qualité, and then cube. So it's a name that works in English and in French, which means solid quality.
It's not often the French language and the English language cooperate with each other. So that's a win just in itself. I always laugh at the French language in that, I work in a very engineering-centric world, and a lot of in the engineering world, there's a lot of words that are English words that are used in other languages. So the Germans will speak German and then drop an English technical term in there. It's just never got renamed. The French are always like, oh, no, 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 no. They'll come up with a name, a very modern name for something we didn't have a name for in the past. That, it's very, French-centric, as it should be, by the way. But I always kind of laugh at the number of English words sprinkled in scientific circles, except for the French. They're like, I think they have a department at the government, a new word department, because they don't want to use an English word for that, for sure.
No, 100%. And in fact, culturally, the Canadian French are more resistant than the French. So if you look at the two, if you're in Canada, they will always use courriel, which is email. But in France, if you use email, it's okay. Yeah. But in Canada, you'll get pulled back on that and say, no, it shouldn't be email.
Yeah, the French Canadians from Quebec and Quebec City, and particularly, are quite militant. And I go there from time to time, and of course, French is by far dominant. And once they learn I'm American, they'll speak English without a whole lot of hesitancy. If you're Canadian, not speaking French there, no pass.
Oh, right.
There's no pass. Yeah, it's a little bit more militant on that.
But I mean, I like you. I agree with you. I like the fact that there are French words for all of these English terms. Whether we use them or not isn't actually, for personally speaking, not that important. Yeah. But the fact that they exist is a nice thing.
Well, before I ask you my last question, just one little anecdote. What do you call a person that speaks 3 languages? Trilingual, right? Mm-hmm. 2 languages? Bilingual? 1 language? American.
Unilingual.
American. True. I think that is true. Okay, last question, Jason. Bada bing. Last question. How did you define success when you first started your entrepreneurial journey, and how do you define it today?
I defined success at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey of being able to live from what I love. And that was playing music. And I remember very, very clearly, we would make less than the minimum wage. And when we went into restaurants, we would cover up the price. Sorry, cover up the food and look at the prices and then work across from there.
Yes, exactly.
In the band, that was the big joke, was we all wanted to cover the price and just pick the food we wanted, but we knew that wasn't possible. So for me, success was simply being able to order in a restaurant, being able to live from that, being able to not have to go to work at 9 a.m. for a horrible boss who I didn't like, and to be able to do what I love day in, day out. And today, honestly, deep down in my heart, that's exactly the same thing. But I now have 13 people working for me, and the responsibility of ensuring that we're all in a comfortable position and that it's not just surviving, that we're all comfortable, that we're all in a situation where we're doing something we love, but we're making a good living, and that we have a vision of the future. Now that I'm getting a bit older, that's obviously more important than it used to be. Success for me today is not having to think about money when I'm going about my day-to-day life. Honestly, that's good enough for me.
Kind of financial freedom, like do what you want to do without having to stress about it, and count the pennies and things like that. Yeah, that's great. Well, Jason Barnard, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really enjoyed this conversation. We could geek out for hours on this subject, by the way. As you can tell, I'm kind of digging the whole subject. For my viewers or listeners that would like to get more information on Jason's company, Kalicube, quality, solid quality. Look down here if you're on YouTube. Just look down here where it says see more, and his website information will be there. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, don't do it while you're driving. We like to keep our subscribers on this side of the dirt. When you get to your destination, look at your podcast app, and that information will be in the show notes. along as well as other information. So, Jason, thanks so much for sharing the last a little over an hour with me. I really appreciate you being here, and I continued success, my friend, on Kalicube or busking or whatever your entrepreneurial journey takes you or takes you back to. I wish you all the success in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'll be playing the guitar.
There you go.
Later on.
There you go.
So thank you, Mike. That was lovely. It was a really lovely conversation. I greatly enjoyed it, and I've been thinking about both the geeky stuff of Google and AI, but also playing music and the busking, and it's taken me back 37 years and made me realize, as we said right at the end of the day, I just want to be comfortable doing something I love.
Yeah. Well, it shows, by the way, as a neutral observer, I can see the passion. I can see it I can hear it in your voice. I can see it. You become animated when you talk about certain things, particularly music. So I think that's great. And I think knowing that kind of your exit strategy, once you cash out your billions of, worth of stock and go through your IPO and whatever the road takes you, I have 100% certainty you're going to be on a street corner with a hat out, just playing for love, right? And loving what you do. I think that's an amazing, end to a entrepreneurial movie. He goes off in the sunset with guitar in hand and making a beautiful noise on some street corner. I think that's awesome.
I couldn't have said it better.
All right, my friend Jason, thanks so much for being my guest. Go forth and be productive and play some great music.
Thank you. That was lovely, Mike. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Before I wrap up, here are some final thoughts. Entrepreneurship has always been about taking responsibility for your decisions, your team, your customers, and the long-term health of your business. What's changed is where those responsibilities now begin. Today, before a customer calls you, before an investor takes a meeting, and sometimes before a partner even responds to an email, AI and search systems have already formed an opinion, not based on intent, but based on the signals you've left behind. Jason's work is a reminder that modern entrepreneurs don't get to opt out of this reality. You may not be actively managing your digital presence, but it's being managed for you by algorithms, and those systems are increasingly shaping trust, credibility, and opportunity. The takeaway today isn't that entrepreneurs need to become marketers or technologists, it's that clarity matters. If you're clear about who you are, what you do, and the value you provide, both humans and machines can understand you better. And in a world where AI is often the first introduction, being understood may be one of the most important competitive advantages an entrepreneur can have. Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been very busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. And one personal favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, consider giving us a like and subscribe. Those two simple clicks really help us expand our reach. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, I'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com to apply or recommend a guest. You can also reach me directly at mike@reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com. And a shameless plug, if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. Thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, be unstoppable. I'll see you again soon.